Hey guys, so today we're in Sydney and we're out at Esker in Rouse Hill, this beautiful brewery, and I've been here before, so let's get into it.
ABV is proudly sponsored by Convoy, Bintani, Craft Punks Canning and Rallings, labels and stickers.
Alright guys, so here we are at Esker Beer Co, which used to be the Australian Brewery. I was here like 5 years ago, learning shit, and I've done heaps of stuff here. It was great and it was beautiful. This is Charlie. How you going, mate?
Adam, how are you, mate?
Again? I'm good, mate.
Yeah.
Hey, calls me Adam too.
Adsy, sorry, Adsy.
I don't know if I was Adsy back then. Who cares?
No, I don't think you were.
No. Mate, great to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has anything big changed, or do you want to just talk us through what's going on? And
yeah, I'll talk you through it. Not much has changed with the brewery itself.
Yep.
It's been more around the brand and ownership and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep.
But you know, we can go through the brew house and that to start off with.
Yeah.
So we're kind of like, I always talk about this place like it's like the house that someone bought and put 2 or 3 different extensions on. You know? It's like, never design it this way in the first place, but it works really well. All the kit with the copper rings on the top, both the brew house and the fermenters is the original kit.
Yep.
So it was a DME kit from Canada. So we started out with the 2-vessel brew house. So it's a 20 hect brew house.
Yep.
And we started out in the early days, we were always just brewing with the 2 vessels. So we'd mash, lauter, and then back to the first vessel for the kettle.
Yep.
And then, you know, it was sort of late 2000s, I think maybe 2018-ish. We added the 3rd and 4th vessel here. Sort of like a communication fail. We got an upsized kettle. Maybe it was a conversion fail between barrels and litres.
Yep.
But it actually works really nicely because we can sort of really max out the 2 vessel in the first place. Yeah. And you know, when we're filling up the big tanks down the bottom, we can get sort of 27, 28 heck out of it.
Yep.
Which is really nice for filling up those big fermenters.
Yeah. It saves a turn.
Yeah, exactly right. And so when we're doing double brew days, we start here, and the first brew goes round the 4 vessels.
Yep.
Mash, lauter, kettle, whirlpool.
Yep.
And then just to save time, we can overlap them a fair bit by just doing the second brew through the 2 vessels. So we can start a couple of hours earlier, and instead of chasing it around the 4 vessels, we just go back into the mash tun for the second boil.
Yeah.
So we can get through the 2 20 hect brews and fill up a 40 hect fermenter in about 9-10 hours.
Yeah, nice.
We've got the process pretty down pat now.
Yeah.
So we just sort of do it. Unfortunately, it's quite, I mean, not unfortunately, but it's an old brewer, so it's not automated in any way, like if you bought one now.
Yeah. I remember running up and down the stairs.
There's a lot of running up and down the stairs. It's a good workout on brew day. But you know, I mean, I actually really like the fact that it's manual, because I feel like you 100% know what's going on all the time. You 100% have to be across everything that you're doing,
what valve needs to be open,
it aids understanding. It's not, you know, it's like the program's not increasing or decreasing the louder speed or anything like that.
Yep.
It's you doing everything. So I really like that about it, and I think it's good for, you know, when the trainee brewers come through as well.
Yep.
It's, you know, you got to know and understand and explain every step. So that's really good.
Yeah, nice. Man, you got some intricate plumbing in through here.
Yeah, I actually designed all that. I was pretty happy with the way it works.
Yeah.
You know, I think we only had to, after we made it, we only had to cut one piece out and put a new piece in.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, so we just had a second diverter panel there with the work pump in behind it, and when we run sort of from the lauter, the pipe work runs all the way around the back and through this panel before it goes into the kettle.
Yep.
So it's a bit coming back to that thing, like I said, about there's a few add-ons here, and it's not. So this side, the 2 vessel, is all designed beautifully.
Yep.
Over in Canada.
It's a bit ad hoc.
This is the bit that's sort of added on, and the pipe's going everywhere, but it works really nicely.
Yeah, nice.
Do you want to come up and have a look?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, it's pretty simple up here. The panel's very simple.
Yep.
We mill down in the bottom corner there, just a simple 2-roller mill.
Yep.
We got the 2 augers, one going to the wall, one coming up to the grist case.
Nice.
But yeah, so the grist case holds sort of up to 500 kilos of grain, which for most brews at 20 hec is enough.
Yeah.
And if if we're doing a big batch, we'll mill the first 500 and then mill the other as we're mashing in.
Yep.
And yeah, it's been a really reliable system.
Yeah.
Like it's like I said, well designed, and we've had minimal issues with it because, 2010 it was installed, which sort of probably predates most of the craft brewing equipment in Australia. Like it's really one of the early ones.
Yep.
And it's it's still going strong.
Yeah.
So it's really good.
Yeah, that's good. Brings back memories. I climbed up a ladder on here, Joel. My fear of heights had to be put away while I put some hobs in a tank.
So yeah, like I said, the DME kit is the one with the copper rings. So it started out in the very beginning with just the 4 fermenters down the left-hand side here, and the 1 bright tank behind you. But then, as things were going well for the brewery, we've added all the extra fermenters. So now I think we've got 11 40 hecs. We've got a single 20 hec there on the right-hand side, which we put some of the ones where we brew lower volumes, the lower turnover ones, and we try and brew like our hazy and our West Coast, where we're trying to turn them over regularly, put them in the smaller fermenter. And so we've got 11 40 hecs, 1 20, and then down the bottom we've got the 3 90 hecs as well. 2 bright tanks, and so our capacity of our brewery, if we're going 100%, is just over 1 million litres a year.
Yeah. When I was down here, you were doing quite a few contract brews. Is that still? Yeah,
we still do a fair bit of that. So we've got a couple of big customers, and then a few customers that brew a little bit, sort of gypsy brewers that brew a little bit with us.
And they just want to get something.
Yeah, they want to get a tank out, and they sort of say when your 20 hec tank becomes available, I'll do a brew in there. And so it still is quite a big part of what we do, and we just find that the contract brewing, while we've launched the new brand and we're trying to get that going as well as we can. The contract brewing helps fill out the tank space and cover costs and that sort of stuff.
And keeps your brewers going,
exactly.
Keeping people employed,
keeps everyone
keep the
busy.
kit going.
Yeah, exactly. You got more beer going through the brewery. More opportunity to sort of have a bigger brew team and
there's not many brewers that want to just sit on their hands and wait.
Not at all.
If you can brew beer, you brew beer. Can we have a
come
got
through.
A can line?
Come through.
Shit as well. Let's have a look at that, because I remember it's pretty big, eh? So man, I remember when this thing was fired up and running, and she's a beast, hey.
It's a bit of a beast.
Pumps cans out.
Beast in a few different ways, probably. I think all craft breweries have they're happy with and have a few complaints about their canning lines. But we're really happy. This is a Palmer. It's a 12 filling head, single head seamer, and probably a tiny bit overspec'd for a brewery our size, but we're really happy to have it. So when it's going, it can run at roughly 52 cans a minute. We used to do 60, but over the years we've slowed it down slightly.
You don't need to rush it if it's not working.
No, you don't need to, but that's really nice. So most of our tanks that we do are 40 hec, and we can get through it. We get sort of 3,600 into the bright tank, and we can punch through that canning in about 3 hours a tank. And so when you're talking a couple of hours to set up, you can do it nicely, easily in a full tank in a day. So it's really nice. It's a counter pressure fill. So the bowl holds about 70 litres and just sort of tops itself up off the bright tank. When we did the expansion with the big tanks and this, so the actual, that used to be the back of the tanks, there used to be the outer wall of the brewery.
Right, okay.
And this, where we're standing, used to be the first row of car parks. And so we just took out the outer wall, built the platform, and the canning line came in. And that was 2018 as well. And so, it's not old, but it's 7-8 years old now. And seals,
out some cans.
It's counter pressure. Seals and things tend to go. So, but it's overall it's been good for us. But probably the other interesting, unique part of what you guys haven't seen is we have a pilot kit. So we have a Premier Stainless system that got installed just after COVID. And it's a 350 litre system, and we have in the venue here, we have sort of 4 rotating taps. And it sort of allows us to do really interesting beers up there. Do you want to come and have a look at it?
Hell yeah.
Come through.
Mate, this is a cool little setup, like small little room. Can pump out some real nice little specialties, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's really nice. Like I said, we've got the rotating taps downstairs, and we're just trying to keep interesting stuff on tap for people who come in. It's a little bit weird working up here because you sort of feel like the people from the bistro are looking up here in a bit of a fishbowl up here.
Yep.
But it's good fun, and it just it adds an extra element, extra dimension to what we do here.
Yeah, it's that theatre too, right? People know, oh yeah, they do make it here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, especially when they see someone, like we'd only brew up here sort of once every couple of weeks.
Yep.
We've got the three fermenters down the end.
Yep.
But yeah, it's got the theatre element, but from a brewing perspective as well. It's sort of doing stuff on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
And we make some big sort of 8-9%ers up here.
Yeah.
We've done sours up here in the kettle, and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's really good. The other thing about it, I guess, with this, it's a bit different to a small kit in a tap house.
Yep.
Because it runs off the brewery utilities.
Yep.
So all the water, the water filters, the steam,
yep.
the glycol, it's all piped up from the brewery.
Yeah, right.
So it's all, we've got a massive steam boiler down the bottom, driving the kettle up here. So it does it easily.
I was going to say,
nice.
efficient as.
Yeah, that's right. And the same with the cooling system. It's just nice to have the brewery utilities doing stuff up here for you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I think it must be time for us to have a beer together.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sweet. All right, guys. So here we are upstairs with James and Charlie, and we're going to drink some of their amazing beers. Guys, what have we got here? What's the branding angle that you're going for? What are we doing?
Yeah, sure. So we've just got four of I think between James and I, probably covered our favourite beers here. But yeah, just on the branding, I guess, first up. So like the Esker brand is the brand that we make here at the brewery. It's been around for about 2.5 years since we launched. When we launched it, we got approval from head office to move away from the Australian Brewery brand, because that's what was on the cans previously. The idea behind Australian Brewery was always to try and establish an export business, which never really kicked off properly. And so Dan and I had this idea that we would like to change the brand, and got approval sort of 4 years ago to do that. Went through a couple of marketing iterations with various agencies, and there's, as you can probably perceive, there's a big story behind that.
Yeah.
But in the end, we worked with Jared Fuller from Zendoke over in WA, who's one of Dan's great mates and done some work for us before. And our idea was that we wanted to go from that export idea and generic name to focusing on something more local. So here in the Hills Shire, which is northwest Sydney, from sort of the northwest suburbs out to the real outskirts of Sydney, it's a big area, and we're the only production brewery in that area. And we wanted to have something as a brand that talked to the local area. So Esker, it's got a few sort of layers or levels to it. So Esker's an Irish word, and it actually means sort of ridge or hill in the landscape. The area has a strong Irish heritage. So that's colonial Irish heritage. So that's why we went with an Irish word. And then the hill idea or ridge, they often use those ridges to navigate through the landscape as a pathway. And so that idea, and you can see in the branding, is sort of carried through. And our tagline for Esker is "Enjoy the journey." So, the idea is, life will take you a bunch of places, either physically or just through what you're doing. And in the end, you'll always end up back at home. And for us, the home is here in the Hills Shire, making the beers that we love.
Yeah, nice.
So enough waffle. I know we want to
talking of beers.
Taste the beers, right? So the first one there is the Citrus Ghoster, and that one we're going to go first. I know it's Adsy's.
Yes.
Adsy's one of Adsy's favourites.
Yeah, love me a Gozer. I love this Gozer.
Possibly the biggest single supporter of our Gozer. We appreciate it, mate.
Oh man, love this beer.
But when we launched the brand, we wanted to have a real signature beer as part of it, and this was the one that we landed on. The history of the Hills, the recent history is, around fruit growing, particularly oranges and mandarins. And so we've done a citrus gosa with mandarin and orange as the fruit. And then obviously tied into the gosa, there's all the other beautiful flavours that I'll talk about in a sec. But from the branding point of view, it's when we talk about how we want it to go local, it as our sort of signature product ties into that idea around the farming history, the fruit growing history of the area. That's really why we came to that. On the beer itself, it's one of my favourites. You know, it seems like every time we brew a batch, we're sort of tinkering, doing it a bit differently. You know, we've gone from using Philly sour in the early days through to just doing a more traditional kettle sour. But still, you know, with the kettle sour, we're not using a culture where we're using the natural lactobacillus on the grain husks
nice.
to sort of seed it, and we leave it for 48 hours. And that's a challenge, you know, getting the right level of tartness in the gosa because, you know, I think the very first one we made was super duper sour.
It's probably like 2.8.
Yeah, crazy. 2.8. And then,
she's sharp.
You're looking to balance that with the rock salt and the fruit, and then obviously just a little bit of light maltiness to it as well. So it's a fun beer to make and to try and just keep getting right.
Mate, the colour looks great.
But you know, have a taste of it.
We'll get into it.
Cheers, Joel.
Cheers out, Joel. This was actually, if you can remember, I think it was 3 years ago, we came up to Gab's Brisbane.
Yes.
And did a beer called Lucid Dreams. Which was a oat cream pale ale. And we did that as just one of the Gab's beers there. So we wanted to kind of do not to say hype beer, but it was a hype beer that we put on at the time. And then once it finished, Dan, Charlie and myself all kind of sat around and had it, and Dan was like, I like this. We should do this. And made a couple of tweaks, and so not a lot of people really know that, but that was kind of where the first iteration of that beer was. So this is our core range hazy pale. Very, very oat heavy, as you can see. Which is
it's great.
Been a little trick there for that one. And as you can taste on that straight away, it's very Kiwi hop dominant. So once Nectaron came onto the scene, we had a couple of people who had used it.
Punching hop,
we were just like, we got to get our paws on some of these. This sounds fantastic. So and that's kind of where we let that go and let that hero hop talk. With a little bit of mosaic in there as well, which, as we know, great hop. And just kind of paired.
It's really known to do some good beers.
And but I think what we kind of found as a point of difference for this beer too is we all kind of have a very similar taste in beers across all ranges and styles. So like we were talking about the sour before. We like sours to be sour. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes we get like Berliner Weisses that are just kind of like a sour ale sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's not really that sour. Whereas when we were making Berliner Weisses, we would like 2 point.
Yeah.
Wanted it to be tart.
You want that sharpness.
So same here. Like we didn't really want it to be sickly sweet. Over the top. So it is quite a dry version of the style, but we find that to be, it kind of works in its favour, and it's a bit more palatable, and you know, you're not coming under that fatigue as much as quickly. Just kept IBU low, final gravity pretty low for style, and just let the oats and the hops do the talking.
Mate, it's pretty great. What's our next little cab off the rank here? So this is our Esker Old Dark Ale. And, you know, talking about names of beers and stuff, we put old in the name just so people sort of have an idea of what to expect. But this recipe was actually one that came across from a beer that we had prior to Esker. So it's one that we all loved. In its former life, it was called Australian Brewery's Old Cattle Dog. And it's actually got a bit of a little bit of an ode to the, a bit of a call out to that. And so this beer actually came about through our previous owners when there was they had a tap contract for CUB, and so they couldn't put 2 years old on. And the manager, the area manager, came to us and go, look, can you make a 2 years old for us? And Dan and I were like, we don't make 2 years old. There's no way are we going to do that. No way.
And he's like, and can we have it in 3 weeks? I'm like, he's like,
Struck two.
And so, we just put our heads together, and I always tell people I spend about, all of 2.5 hours on the recipe for this beer. And then,
That's dragging it out. It was
but it just, it's just, and so Dan, we put our heads together, and we're like, well, we're not going to make too old, but, a good dark ale. So in this one, we actually use South Australian Amsat chocolate malt, which is probably a bit different. They're quite small scale. We've found that their chocolate malt is really nice and smooth. And the whole idea behind this dark ale, I guess, is to have something that is not too dark and too roasty for your mainstream beer drinkers. But also something that appeals to your craft drinkers and people are looking for something malty.
A bit more flavour there.
The idea is it's an approachable dark ale, and it's got a nice, smooth, chocolatey finish with just a little bit of roast to it. That's the idea behind it, and we, like I said, we didn't spend a whole lot of time designing it. We've done a few little recipe changes along the way. I think James has upped the chocolate a little bit.
I think we've both gone back
at times.
But
largely it's stayed the same, and it's just, I think possibly
you'd have your stalwart drinkers on this though, for sure, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we do.
Like this is
we do.
This is a beer that people go, no, that's what I drink.
it was good.
What are we on? Next one.
So this is Realm of Dragons. So this is our second barrel-aged beer that we've now done.
Third in the works.
Third is now in the works. We just did one last week. We just put in the barrels. It was a wee heavy.
Oof. Yes.
So Dan's enthused with that one. He's very happy with that.
Yeah.
So hopefully that turns out all right. This one, like we were talking about before, we really like red beers. And one of the things that we were talking about when we had the idea to do this, because the first one we did an Imperial Stout. Which you had before. And we're like, we don't really want to just keep doing Imp Stout. Like, let's just, we're only doing them once a year. Let's just kind of roll through them and let's just keep doing something different. So we came up with the idea for a red. So, and then there's obviously the other balancing act with it of, do you want a chewy? Do you want a toffee? Do you want X, Y, Z with it? So we all kind of put our heads together and what do we want to drink? And we didn't plan for it to be this big, but 12.1 is where it is, and that's what we're going to do. So
Angel Share just took more of
took the wheel,
took more of the beer than the alcohol.
Pretty much. So so we aged this for 3-4 months in whippersnapper whiskey barrels from WA. Some nice barrels from other side across Nullarbor. And
how often were you trialling it to like go? Is it there yet? No, never. You just let it
go. Just let it go for a few months. Partially because I think either one, I forgot about it. Two, I was paranoid. There's quite a lot of hop in it as well for a barrel-aged beer, being an Imperial Red. So I was like, I don't want to keep taking the money out, So I was kind of a bit stressed in there as well. But so that was probably one of the other reasons. But we just left it until we thought, it's been quite a bit of time. It fluctuated between hot and cold, so it was kind of doing its thing. So we were just like, we kind of need something else out. This must be time. Let's have a look.
But also, I think that you had some control over that with because we blended it back. So you had like sort of a pallet of kegs
sitting there,
non-barrel aged. And we sort of were able to go. If the sort of oaky woodiness
went too far,
was a bit too far or too low,
That's right.
we could choose to blend more or less. So it had a bit of control.
Nice.
So when we came down with them, we had all the barrels out. And we all kind of finished up work for the early afternoon to make sure with these big beers coming in. We didn't know what it was at that point in time either. We knew it was big. So we just kind of tested each barrel, kind of the glasses like you do here. Each barrel had notes on them and thought, what do we want to use? What characteristics do we like? What do we not like? And then chose the ones that we wanted, blended it back, and then kind of just did little by little with the kegs.
That's it.
Kegs back through it and just kind of blended it and All right, we'll stop there.
Yeah. The construction of this beer, you said like you blended it back from the kegs to have some fresh stock in there. Did you use all the kegs? Like, did everything get blended back in, or you've got some stuff that's holding back?
Yeah, we called it there. So there's probably, I think we got what, three
kegs, I think.
Yeah.
Left over.
So if you like it,
you're welcome to have one of them if you want. It's not barrel aged. So.
I wonder if I can get that on a plane. It might be too much.
carry on.
My the tide's out on my beers. I reckon we need to wrap it up so that I can have something else. Yeah. Perfect. Mate, thank you so much.
No, thanks for coming down, boys.
Cheers, Ads.
Thank you again.
Thank you, mate. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. Yeah, no, it's always Joel at Golf Club.
Well, my camera's run out.
There you go.
Yeah.